can't touch. You keep dreaming on the stars above.
What is up? GoodMicWork back at you finally after a couple of weeks off. I apologize for the delay. I surprisingly have an extremely busy September. I'm really not sure why. And by the looks of things, between now and Hell in the Cell, I will probably only be up here weekly at best. I just have a shit ton going on, but this channel will never die. You will never stop hearing from me. I will always have time for wrestling and this GoodMicWork channel. Things are just a little bit busy right now, so you're going to get Raw reviews and pay-per-view reactions out of me only just for the next several weeks until I can get my shit together and get back on track and give you guys some DVD reviews and stuff like that. Tonight, we are here to talk about this past Monday's Monday Night Raw. I'll briefly touch on the show because it was billed as the season premiere. Raw was going head-to-head with a doubleheader on NFL Monday Night Football. I'm recording this commentary before I'm getting a look at the ratings, so I don't know what they're going to do, but I can imagine WWE had a steep hill to climb, especially in the ratings with Monday Night, and they tried a few things to get people interested, and having Sting wrestle his first match ever on Raw was definitely one way to do it. You're also going to get my Night of Champions predictions. I'm going to go through and predict every match here, what I think might happen. It's really tough to predict this one, but I'm going to give it my best shot, so here we go. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw briefly. Only two major things to really talk about. Number one is that WWE announced that Sting would be wrestling in his first match ever on WWE Raw. That's pretty amazing that it's 2015. Sting, a guy with his career as long as he has just come into the WWE, worked one match at WrestleMania. Now he's going to work Monday Night Raw for the first time ever, working with the Big Show. That had me cracking up. I'm like, wow, Sting versus the Giant on Nitro. How many times did we see that back in the day? So I guess Big Show was one of the guys you should probably put him in there with because at least Big Show knows him. At least Big Show's been in the ring with him before. I wasn't sure how good the match was going to be because Sting is, 50 plus years old. Big Show is giant and older and he lumbers around, and I don't know how exciting the match was really going to be, but they fixed that real quick. The match barely gets underway. Seth Rollins comes scurrying out there with the titles, jumps in the ring. Of course, John Cena then comes out there to save Sting from the beatdown he's getting from Rollins and Big Show, and that easily sets up the tag match because this all takes place with 15 minutes left in the show. So it was a little bit predictable as soon as you saw Seth Rollins run out there what was going to happen, but at the same time, it was still nice to see Sting in the ring. And technically, he got two victories on Monday Night Raw. He beat he beat the Big Show via disqualification because of Seth Rollins' interference, and then him and John Cena beat the Big Show and Rollins in the tag team match. Sting made Seth Rollins tap out. That could be very telling for my Night of Champions predictions, and I'm not so sure, as much as I want to see Sting win the WWE title, I'm not so sure that's going to happen now, but we'll talk about that in a little while. So the main event, even though it wasn't anything that crazy exciting, to me it was very special because it was the first time Sting has ever wrestled on Raw, ever, and that's pretty amazing considering Raw is 22 years old. There's really only one other major thing that took place on Raw, and that, of course, is the Divas match. I'm going to get into that in a minute. I know everybody wants to hear my opinion about Nikki Bella because Twitter caught on fire after she retained that Divas title. But first, I just want to briefly run through what we saw on Raw. A few of the matches we saw the New Day retain the tag team titles against the Primetime Players, setting up their match with the Dudleys at Night of Champions. John Cena got a victory over Money in the Bank holder Sheamus. Sasha Banks beat Paige. Neville and Stardust had a very strange match that never really got underway. Neville had the Lucha Dragons backing him up, and Stardust had the Ascension backing him up, and before these guys could even start wrestling, all six guys are in the ring. It's a clusterfuck. I think it ends in a no contest, and they announced that match will be the kickoff match for Night of Champions on the pre-show. A couple of interesting promos as well. The Wyatt family was on Miz TV, which I thought was hilarious. Boy, they're going to think the Miz is purdy. Much to my dismay, the Miz survives his encounter with the Wyatt family. However, he did have a colossal botch. He called Night of Champions Hell in the Cell, which was pretty funny. And just when you thought the Wyatt family was going to tear The Miz apart, Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose come down to the ring. Why the hell are they saving The Miz? I wish they would have waited until the Wyatt family killed this guy and then came out there, but they came out to confront the Wyatt family. They've got the big mystery partner coming up at Night of Champions, and there's a lot of speculation on who that will be, and I'll discuss that a little bit later on as well. There really wasn't that much to this confrontation between Reigns and Ambrose and the Wyatts. I think they just kind of backed off and just played up the big match at Night of Champions. Another match that was built up via promo was Kevin Owens is now going to be feuding for the Intercontinental title with Ryback, which I'm fine with. I'm totally fine with that. Now, here's a situation where I'm Kevin Owens 100%. I have never been crazier about Ryback, but I don't dislike the guy. I know a lot of fans like him. A lot of fans are behind him. He's had the Intercontinental title now for a couple of months. Kevin Owens came into the WWE, launched onto the scene in an unbelievable way by beating John Cena clean in his very first match ever in the WWE, but fell short of winning the United States title. So for him to go up against Ryback here, you gotta think he's gotta take this belt. But like I said, my predictions will come later on. The promo itself, I was liking up until one particular thing happened and I was getting a little bit confused. Like, you know, that's when you know these dumbass WWE writers have never been in a fight in their life. The promo was not bad. Ryback wasn't doing bad. Kevin Owens came out there. I think Kevin Owens is definitely superior on the mic to Ryback, and he showed that on Monday Night Raw. Really good promo by Kevin Owens, and he definitely wasn't backing down from Ryback. But what I did not like about it is when Kevin Owens has that book. I don't even... Did Ryback write that, or did he just read it, or it helped him out in his life? I don't even know the story behind that fucking book. All I know is Kevin Owens had it in his hand, and he's giving shit to Ryback about it, calling him weak and saying he needs the book as a crutch and things like that. And then he takes the book and throws it directly in Ryback's face. Now, you got to think about this in a real-life situation. If you're in a bar or if you're in a public place and somebody comes up to you, takes something out of your hand or takes something that belongs to you and throws it in your face, are you going to continue to keep talking to the guy? No, you're going to beat the fuck out of him. And to me, that's where the promo should have ended. The brawl should have started right there. Ryback should have gone completely apeshit on Kevin Owens, jumped on him, starting beating him down, a big pull-apart brawl. That's what they should have done. That's the way it should have ended. But no, Ryback almost shakes it off and acts like it's not a big deal that this guy just disrespected him and threw something right in his face and continues to cut his promo. So that was my only real issue with that promo, but I do like the feud because I do like this opportunity for Kevin Owens. I'm going to be fine if he wins the Intercontinental title. I actually expect him to, and I hope that he does. And in another match on Raw that I admittedly don't know much about because I was trying to eyeball both of the Monday Night Football games as well. I had big fantasy implications going on in both of those games. So I was trying to watch everything, and I think I kind of missed out a little bit on what went down between Dolph Ziggler and Rusev. I'm not really into this feud right now, really haven't been. It took a turn for the retarded a couple of weeks ago when Summer went into Dolph Ziggler's locker room, and now there's the big love triangle, and now they've got another monkey wrench in their plans because Lana apparently got injured. She broke her arm or broke her wrist or something like that. So she's going to be out for a while. And now they're trying to go in the other direction with Summer. Didn't Dolph Ziggler give her a present on Raw or something like that? I don't know what the fuck's going on. Not my favorite piece of business in the WWE right now, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen between these two at Night of Champions, but like I said, we'll get into that later. Now to get into what everybody wants to hear about. Everybody wants my opinions on this Divas match between Charlotte and Nikki. I was not taking this thing seriously at all. During the day, I heard about the match, heard that it was going to happen. I was a little bit annoyed because I'm like, this John Cena shit is so infuriating. These fans, these hateful fucking fans, get anything John Cena related or any Cena related rumor that's negative and they latch a hold of it and they furiously masturbate to it until there's just nothing left of the rumor. And everybody was all up in arms about the story that John Cena might have gone to WWE and said, let my girlfriend hold the belt a little bit longer. I don't want her to drop it to Sasha Banks or Paige on Monday Night Raw. The fans were freaking out, taking that as John Cena is burying other divas and he's trying to help out his girlfriend, when really all they were doing was trying to extend the storyline to make it more interesting and make the time when Nikki finally does drop the belt that much sweeter. I don't know why everybody is so concerned about a meaningless record like the Divas title. This is not the same women's title, okay, that Fabulous Moolah held. This is a completely different belt. This is a new belt that's only been around for a few years, and so far, AJ Lee is the person that has held it the longest. The fans are trying to mask their hatred for Cena and hatred for the fact that he fucks the Divas champion right now, and they're trying to mask that behind, oh, I just don't want AJ Lee's record to be broken. Bull fucking shit. What the hell do you care about AJ Lee's record? I love AJ Lee. She's probably one of my favorite divas in modern times. And I'm a huge fan of her husband. You guys all know how I feel about CM Punk. I've always been a big fan of his and a big supporter of his. As a matter of fact, I think the most watched video I've ever done was the one I did when I reviewed his podcast with Colt Cabana last Thanksgiving. So even someone like me, being a CM Punk and AJ Lee fan, I, for one, do not give a shit, number one, about her record, or number two, that the WWE is doing this. This is the type of shit they do. They did the same thing to Brock Lesnar when he left. They immediately put the title on Randy Orton because he was 1 year younger than Brock Lesnar. Now AJ Lee is gone. Her husband, CM Punk, drugged their name through the mud, accused wrestlers of being on steroids, accused their doctors of being incompetent, and really just slandered them in his interview with Colt Cabana. And I liked his interview. I was glad to hear CM Punk not be pussy whipped by the WWE and not take any of their shit, but there were a few instances where I think he went too far, and he really let his anger and passion get the best of him, and he did not handle himself in a very professional way on that podcast. He drug a lot of guys' name through the mud, and I think he was incredibly unreasonable in a lot of the things that he was saying. Some of what he was saying was right, but a lot of what he was saying was also wrong. And so if the WWE just wants to stick it to him a little bit, that's their choice. They have the power to do that. It's their company. It's their title. If they don't want CM Punk's wife's name being associated with the longest reigning Divas champion of all time, they have every right to change it if they want to. And Nikki, being the great heel that she is, nobody likes her. I, of course, love her. I always joke about her and I on Twitter and everything like that. I just think it's so funny that somebody with not a lot of talent, that gets a ton of heat from the fans, is holding this belt so long. That's good. That's what you want. That's what a heel is supposed to be. You can't get traditional heel heat anymore because the fans know how everything works. So you have to get it in other ways. And for Nikki Bella to be the girlfriend of John Cena, all the fans get all uppity every time John Cena wins or anything like that. Anything that touches John Cena immediately throws these people into a nervous tizzy. They know that they have a gold mine here right now in Nikki Bella because the fans are they're gonna go so crazy. They're gonna be so happy when she finally drops the belt. So you fast forward to this past Monday Night Raw. She's got a title match against Charlotte, and if she wins the match, she will be the longest reigning Divas champion ever because the clock counts down and ends at midnight. All she had to do was survive Monday, and the record is hers. Plus, she already has the match. This is the most infuriating part about all this, is how upset the fans were getting about this when they are wrestling again in 6 fucking days. You fucking know that Night of Champions will be the end for Nikki. There is no way in the world she is going to escape Night of Champions with the belt. I cannot understand for the life of me why Twitter lost their shit on Monday night after Nikki holds onto the belt. And they're delusional. They're completely delusional. Oh, it was a rehashed angle. They've done this before. Yeah, because they look alike. The Killer Bees did the same fucking thing time and time and time again. Didn't Kurt Angle's brother Eric fill in for him more than once in the WWE in order to fool an opponent? Nobody was bitching that that was a rehash. It's only because it's Nikki, and it's only because she's connected to John Cena. That is it. It's all about John Cena. If you think that it's not, you are full of fucking shit. All I've heard since day one, since the NXT girls came in, is that, yes, we are all happy that they're there. Unfortunately, the WWE is just booking them like shit. The Divas Revolution is not that exciting because there's not really any real storylines here. And here, finally, we have one, which I pointed out on Twitter. You know, for all the people that are complaining that there's no storylines and build-up to Divas matches are pissed off about this current storyline and build-up to a Divas match. And some people are saying, oh, it's not a storyline, it's not a build-up. What the fuck are you talking about? Absolutely, yes, it fucking is. 1,000,000% is this a storyline and a build-up. The story is that Nikki Bella, you have a Divas champion that's inferior in the ring to the other Divas, especially the new girls that have come into NXT. She has somehow held onto this belt month after month, despite the fact that she's been losing just about in every single match she's competing in, yet somehow she's still hanging on. Sooner or later, somebody's going to catch up to her and get that belt off of her, and when they do, it's going to be a wonderful thing. I think the Honky Tonk Man's long Intercontinental title reign. Back then in 1987, there were so many guys on the WWE roster 1,000,000 times better in the ring than the Honky Tonk Man. Yet here this guy is holding the second most important title in the WWE. He's not holding it for a few weeks. He's holding it for a year and a half. Fucking insane. Escapes every match with that belt somehow, despite the fact that he's being beaten and overmatched in every contest he has. Finally, the Ultimate Warrior got his hands on him and beat him in a matter of seconds. And I have a feeling Charlotte will do something similar at Night of Champions. This was a good angle. It gave Nikki Bella even more heat. It angered Charlotte even more, giving her all the more reason to go in there at Night of Champions and break that bitch's legs. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if you see Charlotte do what the Ultimate Warrior did to the Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam. You might see a very similar situation there. Charlotte might get in that ring, wrestle down Nikki, and have her in the figure 8 leg lock in a matter of seconds, and Nikki will be tapping out. And that is going to be a great moment. Imagine the roof blowing off of that place if Charlotte is able to beat Nikki, this long reigning WWE Divas champion, in a matter of seconds. I don't care that the match is short. It wouldn't be a very good match anyway because Nikki is not the caliber of wrestler that a Charlotte or Sasha or Paige or anybody like that is. So if you want a long match, Charlotte's going to have those with some of those other girls. This is the perfect opportunity to have a squash. You hear me? Have a fucking squash at Night of Champions. But the fact that the fans cannot look that far ahead. To them, everything ended on Monday Night Raw. Oh, the Divas Revolution is buried. They fucked Charlotte over. I mean, are you kidding me? They were acting as if this is the last time Charlotte is ever going to get a shot at the Divas title, even though the match with Nikki Bella has been advertised for Night of Champions for weeks. The fans completely forgot about that. Everything begins and ends on this particular Monday Night Raw, and if Charlotte doesn't win, then the world ends. The fans need to get a hold of themselves and realize that the big moment that you want, Charlotte holding up the Divas title and Nikki crying and walking away to the back, humiliated, that's 6 fucking days away. It's less than a week away, and you're acting as if it's never going to happen. Most of you have been watching wrestling now long enough to know how shit works. You should have seen this coming. Somebody needs to explain to me where the surprise part came in. Who in the world predicted Charlotte to win that belt on Monday Night Raw? I sure as fuck didn't. Anybody out there with half a brain, I highly doubt, predicted that either. You knew Nikki was going to escape one more time with the title. Actually, Charlotte did win. She just won via disqualification. But still, Nikki is the Divas champion. She breaks the record. Now she can go into Night of Champions and drop the belt. Now, I'll try to backtrack here a little bit because I know I've alienated a bunch of Cena haters and I'm probably going to go get a bunch of shit in the comments for it, like I give a fuck. But let me just say this. If this were to happen, the same situation were to happen at Night of Champions, and Nikki Bella either wins or somehow escapes with the Divas title again, then you have the right to be pissed because this is what they've been building for. I would even be mad. Now, I would never go so far as to blame John Cena for helping out his girlfriend. Who fucking cares what goes on behind the scenes? I sure don't. But I would definitely be pissed off at the WWE for missing what I think would be a great opportunity to put the Divas title on Ric Flair's daughter. Charlotte is amazing in the ring. She's going to make a great Divas champion, and she needs to walk out of Night of Champions with the title. If she does not, then yes, I will even be mad. I won't be mad and pissed off to the level that everybody was pissed off after Monday Night Raw, but I will definitely be pissed off because I do think it would be the wrong decision. But the right decision was to have Nikki break the record and then drop the belt after that. That's what the WWE wanted to do. It allowed Nikki to survive this onslaught from the Divas Revolution. I don't know why everybody thinks it's dead. Didn't she lose and tap out in basically every match she had with one of those girls? The fact that she was just keeping the belt, that was what you were so mad about? If you ask me, Nikki has been jobbing every week. How many times since Sasha and Charlotte and Becky have come into the WWE has Nikki Bella tapped out? A lot of times. I swear, the wrestling fans' insanity never ceases to amaze me. But let's move on to Night of Champions and actually predict this thing. I don't know how good my predictions are going to be here. There's a lot of factors to take into consideration, and there's a lot to look at here. So let's start at the bottom, that silly-ass kickoff match, Stardust and the Ascension versus Neville and the Lucha Dragons. I think just for the hell of it, I'm going to pick Stardust and the Ascension. Why not? This is a match that you would think Neville and the Lucha Dragons would win, especially it's a kickoff show, and babyfaces, especially high-flying babyfaces, winning that match is a really good way to get the crowd off on the right foot and excite them. But Cody Rhodes, it seems like he's losing every time out there. Lost at SummerSlam, constantly losing to Neville or whatever. So how about throw Stardust and the Ascension a bone and give him a victory on the fucking kickoff show? So I'm picking Stardust and the Ascension. WWE Tag Team titles are going to be on the line as well at Night of Champions. New Day, who retained them on Monday Night Raw against Primetime Players, will face the Dudley Boys. Now, here's one that might surprise you. I want the Dudley Boys to get the WWE title, but not right now. New Day is pretty fucking hilarious right now. They're getting more and more over with their incredibly outlandish celebrations and their dancing. I am very, very entertained with what I'm seeing from the New Day right now, and I wouldn't mind if they kept the belts a little while longer and had the Dudley Boys chase them around. How cool was it last week? Was it the Labor Day show? Which I missed, but I did see bits and pieces of it. To see Edge and Christian, they did the backstage segment with the Dudley Boys, and I have heard the rumors that now that the Dudleys are back, that WWE might want to bring in the Hardys for one final run. How crazy would that be to see the Dudleys and the Hardys going at it in WWE in 2015 or 16? That would be pretty awesome, but we can talk about that at another time. The Dudley Boys, I fully expect to win the WWE Tag Team titles in their current run that they're in right now, but I think the New Day is going to somehow escape this pay-per-view with the belts. So I'm picking the New Day to retain. I am not picking Ryback to retain. Of course, he is facing Kevin Owens. This is a match that Kevin Owens absolutely has to win. If Kevin Owens does not not win for any reason. I actually see him winning the Intercontinental title. So maybe it's possible Ryback does score a victory here at Night of Champions and Kevin Owens wins the belt either on Raw or next pay-per-view, Hell in the Cell, something like that. But I'd rather not see that happen. This is one that I feel it would be okay to rush because Ryback has had the title for a while. You know, he's doing a good job, but he's not exactly setting the world on fire or having a legendary Intercontinental title reign or anything like that. Kevin Owens could actually use a belt right now, gives him something to do. I think he'd be a great Intercontinental champion. And if John Cena somehow wins back the United States title, maybe these guys can rekindle their feud. Maybe one day they can have a unification match or something together. I don't know. That's looking way ahead. But I think Kevin Owens definitely needs and will win the Intercontinental title at Night of Champions. And that's who I'm predicting to win, Kevin Owens. Another match without a belt involved here is Dolph Ziggler versus Rusev. Now, of course, like I said earlier, these plans have all changed because of Lana's injury. I don't know what's going to happen on this match, and I honestly don't care. So just on a whim, just pulling it out of my ass, I'm picking Rusev. Back to another title match now, which I just talked about at length, the WWE Divas title match. Champion Nikki Bella defending against Charlotte. Charlotte all the way here. Charlotte, Charlotte, Charlotte. And I really like my idea of a squash. I think that would be appropriate. I think it would fit the storyline. And if Charlotte came out there and Ultimate Warriored her, treated her like the honky-tonk man, and had her beat in a matter of seconds, I think that could be a hell of a statement by Charlotte and a hell of a statement for the whole Divas revolution, and all the fans can finally fucking relax. The Wyatt family, of course, is going to be facing Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns and a mystery partner in a six-man tag. A lot of chatter about who the mystery partner could be. The early rumor was Eric Rowan. Now, Eric Rowan would make a lot of sense. He was injured. They replaced him on the Wyatt family. He can come back and say, hey, you replaced me. I'm not your friends anymore. I don't know. I think Eric Rowan, just for his look and the kind of character he is, he should stick with the Wyatt family. Who says it has to be a three-man team? Why can't it be four? A lot of Daniel Bryan rumors tossed around as well. You know, we're not really sure about his status. He's mentioned a couple of times in interviews that he's been cleared, but the WWE, I think, is hesitant to bring him back into the ring. So technically, if they really, really wanted to, he could probably work. So if it turned out to be Daniel Bryan, I think it would be perfect because he has a history with Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family dating back a couple of years. He's still Daniel Bryan. He's still incredibly over. He's even had the history with Roman Reigns at the beginning of the year when they worked at Fastlane together and they have each other's respect. And Daniel Bryan would be a great guy to make his return at Night of Champions. I think the fans would pop hard. There's one guy they might even pop a little harder for. Roman Reigns' cousin, The Rock. Now, they did the deal on SmackDown where Jey Uso or Jimmy Uso, whichever the non-injured one is, ended up teaming with Ambrose and Reigns expressed dislike over Ambrose going out and recruiting him. He's like, I don't want to bring my family into this. I don't want any more family into this than has already been brought in. So if they use that as a reason to throw the fans off, thinking, oh, it's definitely not going to be a family member, The Rock is a guy that would be perfect. And what a great surprise return for The Rock. He could go in and just work light. It would just be a six-man tag. You wouldn't have to do a whole lot of work. I know Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose and whoever their mystery partner is will wind up winning this thing because the Wyatts have pretty much dominated this feud so far, and they've got to lose. Plus, with that big beast Strowman out there, they can easily have, you can just pin Harper or pin Bray Wyatt. It's not going to do anything to diminish the monster status of this new guy Strowman. I still wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Dean Ambrose heel turn sometime in the future. I don't think it could happen at Night of Champions. I think when you already have a mystery partner involved in this thing, a Dean Ambrose heel turn would almost confuse the situation. They can hold that off. They can save that. They're already teasing a tiny bit of tension between these two quote-unquote brothers because Roman Reigns didn't like the fact that Ambrose recruited one of the Usos. So I definitely think a Dean Ambrose heel turn in the future is imminent, and I think it's going to be, I'm excited to see Ambrose as a singles heel. I think he'll excel in that department, but I don't think it's going to happen right now. He'll stay babyface for a little bit longer, and Reigns and Ambrose and the mystery partner will win this match with the Wyatts. Now let's move on to the two big title matches. Damn, these are hard to predict. John Cena versus Seth Rollins for the U.S. title is up first. Now you got to think, I've mentioned this before, the one thing I think Seth Rollins is not going to do is drop both belts. I can't see that happening. So, although maybe I could. I actually could see that happening because that might factor into some of my predictions here. I think as it stands right now, unfortunately, I think John Cena could regain the United States title. And here's why. I think it was nice to put the belt on Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, give him that moment, give him the statue and all that bullshit, let him bask in the glory of holding two titles, but he cannot realistically do that forever. And John Cena had a very successful United States run earlier this year. If they put the belt back on him, I think it's a good thing for two reasons. Number one, it keeps John Cena away from the world title for a little while. We don't have to worry about him breaking or tying Ric Flair's record anytime soon. And it puts the U.S. title back on him, which if you like John Cena or not, regardless of what you feel about him, he had a very entertaining United States title run, and I would love to see him pick that back up. Still don't know if I want to predict John Cena to win, though, because you have to take in consideration the main event. Now, Sting, I had mentioned before that I would really like to see him win the WWE title, just for his legacy, even if it's just a cup of coffee. Even if he holds the belt and loses it back to Seth Rollins on Raw, or at the next pay-per-view, or if Sheamus comes out and cashes in the briefcase and wins the title after Sting wins it. As long as Sting can be listed as a former WWE World Heavyweight Champion, I think would be a nice thing for his career and his legacy. But given what we saw on Monday Night Raw, Sting making Seth Rollins tap out to the Scorpion Deathlock to close the show on the go-home Raw, I don't know if we're going to see that again at Night of Champions. I think if there's ever a time for Sheamus to cash in the Money in the Bank, this is it, for two reasons. Number one, Sheamus, as far as I know, is not booked for Night of Champions. He's not even wrestling a match. Seth Rollins is wrestling 2 matches. This is his opportunity. He will never have a better opportunity to cash in than he does right now. So I'm really starting to think Sheamus will actually cash this thing in. So it's hard to predict. Part of me wants to predict Seth Rollins to beat John Cena and retain the United States title, but then lose to Sting, and Sting becomes the World Heavyweight Champion, and then Sheamus comes out and beats Sting for the title. But I almost want this to be about Seth Rollins. I would almost like to see Seth Rollins retain the title against John Cena and then retain the title against Sting. He's laying on the mat with both titles laying over him after just defeating Sting, after already escaping John Cena, and then Sheamus's music hits. He comes out and cashes in on a completely weakened and beaten down Seth Rollins and easily wins the WWE title. That, I think, is what I would like to see the most, because it keeps the U.S. title on Seth Rollins for a little while, and it also gives us a new WWE champion. But you got to think Seth Rollins is going to have to get immediate rematches if that scenario does in fact happen, which means he doesn't need to be the United States champion if he's worried about regaining his WWE title, which again makes me think that John Cena could take the belt off of him earlier in the show. So it's a very confusing type of match to predict. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that John Cena beats Seth Rollins for the United States title. Now, as far as the WWE title match goes, if I'm going to predict Rollins to lose to Cena, I have to predict him to beat Sting. So I say Seth Rollins somehow defeats Sting or walks out of that match as the WWE champion, and then Sheamus cashes in the Money in the Bank after that. To me, there's no other way. I know it's hard to predict when a guy will cash in the Money in the Bank, but this seems so crystal clear obvious here. This is where they want Sheamus to do it. If Sheamus did not come out after or during the WWE title match, he would be viewed as a fool, because he's got a prime opportunity. He's got a guy that's wrestling twice against 2 icons, 2 legends. He's got to face John Cena and Sting back to back. Why would you not come out there with that briefcase and try to win that title? This is Sheamus's night. I guess if you had to ask me what I would want to see happen, I would like to see them really launch the legacy of Seth Rollins, and I would like to see Seth Rollins beat all 3. Could you imagine that? What if he retains against Cena somehow? He can cheat. Who fucking cares? He's a heel. That's what heels do. He retains against Cena. Then he goes into his match with Sting, retains against Sting, and again, he can cheat if he wants to, no big deal. That's what heels do. And then let's say Sheamus comes out there after all of this, and the whole crowd is expecting him to cash in and win the WWE title, but somehow Seth Rollins is able to escape that too. I don't know how. He might cheat to win, no big deal. That's what heels do. If he's able to escape all 3 of those threats at Night of Champions, the motherfucker, guess what, does deserve a statue. And I think it's something that they could look back on and Seth Rollins can brag about until the end of time. So if I had my way and I was booking things, that's the way I would do it. Have Seth Rollins beat them all. How crazy would that? Nobody would see that coming. And it would definitely make for a very interesting Monday Night Raw, but most likely that will not happen. So I'm going to reluctantly pick John Cena and Sheamus to both walk out of Night of Champions as title holders, and Seth Rollins to walk out with nothing. But that doesn't mean that Seth Rollins is done. All that means is Seth Rollins now has unlimited title shots against Sheamus, which will probably include a match at Hell in the Cell. But then you got heel versus heel. Is that what you want? Putting these 2 guys in the cell together, I don't know what sense that would make. There's no story there. There's no build. And, of course, the pay-per-view is named Hell in the Cell, so you kind of have to have the match in the cell. So I'm almost wondering if it could be a three-way. John Cena might be back in the mix for the WWE title. He did beat Sheamus on Monday Night Raw, so they're already kind of working those two guys together again. So maybe it could be a three-way, triple threat match for the WWE title. Maybe it could be a four-way in the cell with Sting, Sheamus, Rollins, and Cena for the title. And you also have to think if Seth Rollins is able to retain the title and come out of Night of Champions as champion, but at the same time he dropped the U.S. title to John Cena, wouldn't you think John Cena would come out on a future Monday Night Raw and say, hey, I beat you, I made you tap out at Night of Champions, I think that earns me a WWE title shot. And then you got to do the whole fucking thing again. So I think there's a lot of different ways they could go here. I really don't care which way they go, as long as it's fun, as long as it's exciting. I don't give a shit about John Cena, whether he wins, whether he loses, whether he takes a shit, whether he has a sandwich. I don't fucking care. I just want to be entertained, and I want to be surprised by what I see. And with this double title match and this double duty that Seth Rollins is doing, you know, there's endless different ways they can do it, and that's what you want out of a pay-per-view. You want a pay-per-view that's not entirely predictable, and this one is definitely not. So I have high hopes for Night of Champions. I will most likely be up here live tweeting that night. I do have a few things going on this weekend. I was a little nervous I might miss Night of Champions, but I should be up to watch it live, and I will be tweeting live during the whole thing, so please feel free to join me. Feel free to leave me your predictions or your scenarios for these title matches or what you think might happen at Night of Champions, and I will hope to talk to you guys very soon. A pay-per-view reaction video, by the way, is also up in the air. There's a very good chance that you might get me after Monday Night Raw. I might not be able to come up and do a reaction video immediately following Night of Champions like I have been doing for the past, I don't know how many pay-per-views. I've basically been up after each and every one of them. This one is a little bit up in the air, so at the very latest, you'll get me on Tuesday for your complete Night of Champions review and your Raw review as well. So you guys take care, enjoy the pay-per-view, and tell me what you think, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days. Until then, peace.